From Inwood in New York City, welcome to Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where you meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home what we affectionately call upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims. Today, we welcome filmmaker Clarke. Caleb is a Manhattan-based writer, director, and editor who's drawn to the themes of grace, shame, and redemption, as well as the destigmatization of mental health issues. Here at the Screenplays were 3 narrative short films produced through Times Square Church, and of those, his favorite project, TSC, is Unseen. A short he also directed and edited explores faith and mental health. He has shot and edited branded content, music videos, dance film, and worked as an educational editor on a feature-length doc for Athletic Brewing. Currently, Caleb resides in Washington Heights, surrounded by many of his actor friends who helped inspire the setting for his upcoming short, An Act of Penance, which he received an Inwood Film Festival Filmmaker Award for. You can view more of his work online, but right here we have him in the flesh to talk about it. Welcome, Caleb, to Inwood Art Works On Air. So great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Honored to be here.
You bet. Like you said, we were talking off camera earlier. It's been since a year since I've kind of seen you depart. You departed on this project. It's like Odysseus going out.
Yeah. I'm basically Christopher Nolan. No.
It only took a year. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. I am. And it has felt like a year. It's felt like 5 years. But I am really, really excited for this to see the light and for just all of the hard work of the cast and crew to be recognized, because it truly took a village.
As always, it does, no doubt. And let's talk about your village. How did you find your way to the Heights in the first place?
You know, that is really interesting. I was a Brooklyn person through and through. I lived there for like 2 years when I basically, after I moved to the city, I was temporarily somewhere for a few months, and then Brooklyn was where I called home. But I had some friends that lived in Washington Heights, and really just was drawn to the community of people that were in the neighborhood. And you know, living in Brooklyn, that is like a long distance friendship. That's a big commute. And so
says someone who lives in Washington Heights.
Right. It goes both ways. But I was, you know, an hour on the train is a long time. And eventually I was like, yeah, maybe I should move up here and be closer to the folks. So it was, yeah, I never thought I would honestly live in uptown Manhattan, and here I am, and I love it. I just, I'm moving into another apartment in the Heights in February, so I'm excited.
Putting down roots, huh?
Yeah.
Good for you. So, what led you to your career in the glorious world of editing?
That is a great question. It's funny. Editing is something that I feel like, you know, I recognize that it's something that I can do. I have the skill, but if I never had to edit again, I would be thrilled. It is
like my wife who's a lawyer. She's like, I'm good at it, but boy, I do something else. Yeah,
because, you know, it's isolating. I have a lot of respect for editors. So not to say that it is, you know, it's a very solid path, but it's isolating. And I think for me, it's just kind of come by necessity, where I, you know, would need to be responsible for editing projects that I film, or even, you know, in the case of narrative work, like wanting to have, you know, my hand in the end product. And some of that is I need to let go of some control and trust and find some people. And I think you find the right person, you find the right collaborator, that is totally possible. But yeah, a lot of it is just necessity. And so for me, by day, I freelance as in video production world. And so editing comes with the territory. And yeah, I mean, it's nice because it's flexible. I can do it from anywhere. And, you know, I think it's very, what's the word? Fulfilling to see all the pieces come together, and to be the one to kind of pull the thread through.
Nice. Any particular favorite software you use?
I used to be on Premiere, and now I mainly am on Resolve. And that was interesting. And that seems to be the trend among a lot of people in film and video. I really cut my teeth in Premiere in college, especially, but slowly but surely moving over to Resolve. And sometimes we'll have some projects in Adobe, but I really, really love Resolve. So An Act of Penance was cut on Resolve.
Cool. Good to know. People always like those kind of shoppy questions.
Yeah.
But I will say this too, just kind of tying the button on the editing talk a little bit, is that it does, in a sense, also give you that, you kind of hinted at it about you. It is a form of storytelling and story shaping, right? And so that it gives you that power to have your say, so to speak. And yes, I know you have angels and devils on your shoulders, multiple of them probably at different times.
Yes.
Speaking, breathing down your neck and in your ear. But it does give you a bit of sense of you're contributing to the shaping of the story, at least.
100%. And it's, I don't know. I mean, there's aspects that I love about it. I love, honestly, I think one of my favorite parts about editing is when there's no pressure for it to be perfect just yet, and you're just trying to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. And you're just kind of having fun and being creative, and you get to move things around. When you get to the point where you got to watch it, 20, 30 times through, and you're trying to make sure there's no mistakes, that's when it can get a little maddening. But I love that, like, first pass, especially.
Well, and also I think it's also common ground too, because it helps you bridge different genres as well, because obviously you mentioned about Unseen and the stuff you've worked at the church, and also your narrative-based work as well. So it's kind of, people might wonder, do you think that helps you approach the nice various amounts of work and the genres you're approaching by using that talent to shape those stories?
Because I'm editing.
Yeah.
I think I definitely have the thought of how something will look in the edit, or like thinking forward in the process. Or like you'll be working on, with anything. It could be a short video, it could be a film, but where you kind of have in your head, okay, this is what I might do with it later. And that certainly helps. And it also really helps to be the one who was directing. And then when you're in the edit, you're like, okay, yes, I remember what was happening. Generally, although some of it is a blur, but I remember generally what was happening in that moment for that scene, or when we were filming, and so like for that to be the same person is really helpful, because I've also been in the boat, like you mentioned, when I was an additional editor for this project with Athletic Brewing. I wasn't involved with the filming at all, and so I had to really familiarize myself with the footage, and you have to just sit in that and learn as you go in the edit, versus like already knowing, oh yeah, we shot this and then this, and I remember this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's a talent. It's a talent. On your website, I want to bring up something I thought stood out to me. Your tagline, which is a director, videographer, and editor based in New York City who refuses to lose hope. That's a very, very, I would say it's a prominent statement. A mantra, if you will, and it fills me with warmth to think that you're vying to do some good with the however much time you have here. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. So, what are you hoping for?
No, that's a great question. I think for me, hope is something that, as the years have continued to pass, it seems we need more of as each year comes and goes. There's a lot of reasons to lose hope and to feel hopeless, looking around in the world. And I think that people are craving more stories of hope. There's a time and a place to tell stories that don't necessarily communicate that. But for me, in the work that I want to do, I want my audience to leave, even if it's just a little bit more hopeful than when they first came in. And I think people are really longing for that. I think they're looking for, something they can hold on to, something good, something that they can hope for, rather than, I've been in the situation where you leave watching something and you feel kind of, I don't know, not super great. You kind of have that gross feeling, and you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't seen that, or, man, I wish that, that didn't happen, or I don't know. I've just been in those situations with watching certain films, and it's not necessarily something that I want to do. And I really think that there's a big desire for that. And I would love to see more stories that walk that line. And this is something I wanted to do with An Act of Penance, because I don't want it to be a cliche hope. I don't want it to be a level of like, oh, everything works out and everything is perfect, because life is certainly not perfect and everything does not work out. But a realistic hope where it's like, okay, let's think of the things that, you know, in the middle of all the chaos, in the middle of all the darkness, what was that little bit of light that kind of broke through? And so, yeah, that's what I, no pun intended, hope to do.
Well said, well said. And I feel you on all those on those points. And you know, and I was thinking when you were talking is that, you know, that could be, you know, Caleb Clarke's Hopeful Studios. I mean, it's like, it's kind of great to, like you said, Christopher Nolan's known for a certain kind of genre and a certain kind of making kind of film. You could be known as the filmmaker that makes that certain kind of film. And I think I think that's really a wonderful thing to strive for. And it's good to know you know, who you are and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to make, which leads me to Act of Penance. Other than hope, can you tell our listeners what the film is about?
Yes. Okay. Without giving too much away, I will say it is about an actor who is in the middle of an off-Broadway run of a adaptation of the book The Scarlet Letter, but in play form. And he navigates things from his past that resurface that force him to make a decision as to whether or not he's going to face that, whether or not he's going to reopen that door, and whether or not he can actually be forgiven for some things that he did. And so he navigates that while in the middle of a show, and his character, you start to see, mirrors his actual life. So he has to navigate whether or not he can be forgiven.
Good. And, you know, he has this, I have seen the film, just so you know, and I won't give anything away either, but you're saying being forgiven, which means he's kind of haunted by actions of the past.
Yeah.
And you know, it begs the question, I'm always interested in, you know, where the film has come from. So I'm curious of what in your past has come back to haunt you, or without much as you like to share. I'm looking for a confession. I'm just saying. I'm just saying as a, you know, I really find, you know, where the idea and like, not just an idea, but like, there's one thing to have an idea. It's one thing to have an uncontrollable hunger in your stomach to say, like, I had a burning passion to saying, this is what's driving me to tell this story. So I'm just curious if there's anything that came from you personally.
It's a good question. More broadly, I mean, it's funny. Again, don't want to say too much of the plot, but there's very specific details in this actor's life that do not mirror mine. And it will make sense once you see the film. But the general wrestling that he has with shame and with, just this, and I think this is why I wanted to make a story about an actor in the first place, because there is this this really interesting picture of someone who it is their job to perform and to put on a certain, they're following a script and they're telling a story, but there's this kind of two-sidedness of it, because you've got like what's visible and then you've got what you don't see backstage. And so I think for me, it was really exploring and just like my own life, walking through wrestling with feelings of shame and feeling like I need to be perfect and I need to perform, and this like striving nature that has just been in me, and walking that out in my art and figuring out like, okay, this is something that is really personal to me that I want to talk about, and usually when I go to write a film or try to come up with a concept, I'm going back to the drawing board of what are things that are really personal to me that I can explore more of. And so with this, it was like, oh yeah, pressure to perform, perfectionism, shame. And so, that's not to say that it's, again, not without hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's something that I still have to, walk through in real time. For me, so much of my work is informed by my faith. And so with this story, I really wanted to communicate to that, just like this picture of grace and this idea that, I think there's a lot of different people have so many different experiences and views, both on the inside and the outside when it comes to faith and Christianity. But for me, I think I really wanted to communicate just maybe a less talked about depiction of what it can look like, of what really at the core of my faith is grace, and that we are saved by grace alone. And so I really wanted to show just a picture of that it isn't about trying to be a perfect person, because none of us are perfect. And so that's something I really wanted to explore in this.
Yeah. So how did the story change, if at all, from when you first started working on it, when you submitted for the application for the fund? Like, and if it changed, was it out of necessity, or is it because of, scheduling? It's always,
Yes.
I think it's always good to talk about these things because it helps others as well.
Yes, that is a great question, and it did change quite a bit. I'll say this: it wasn't in the version that I submitted, but I have mentioned this before a few times, that the very first draft I wrote of the screenplay, the protagonist died at the end, and I just remember finishing that and thinking something like, "This is a little too dark."
There goes my hopeful campaign.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. I mean, there's still some aspects of hope you can find in the middle of that, but
that was convincing.
I was like, okay, this is too much. But you do kind of have to go through that process of just getting it on paper, getting all your feelings out and what you want to communicate. And sometimes it does end up being, darker than maybe you want it to ultimately end up. And I was like, okay, this is maybe a little bit too far. And so then it was that kind of walk of, how do I find that balance of still going to, I don't want to shy away from dark subject matter, but doing so in a way that you don't leave feeling dark and heavy and like, oh, this is a lot. And so, yeah, the protagonist dies in the first draft. So spoiler alert, he does not die in the final. And then even just, I'm trying to remember the version that I submitted to you. I believe there was a whole different piece of, like, there was an actual antagonist. And the antagonist was the director, if I'm not mistaken.
I think there was, yeah.
And so I do remember having kind of this like epiphany moment where I was like, no, the antagonist is the protagonist is his own antagonist.
Yeah, it's all in his head.
It's all in his head. And so that was a big pivot that I took, and I'm really happy that it ended up like that, because the last thing I wanted is for just to make another, as great as this film is, I didn't want to make another Whiplash. And I'm really happy that it kind of maybe started in that world and then kind of took on a life of its own. I also initially, as I was like reminding myself of where the journey that the story went on, I was looking back at old notes. I really explored method acting as just like an aspect of the story. I remember I was reading a book on method acting, and was thinking that was going to be a big part of the story. And then it ended up that really wasn't the focus. And, maybe that was some of the technique that the actor was using in the story. But there was at one point just that was like a device of method acting being the thing that unravels the character. And so that was a change. And then also the character's father was a prominent the protagonist's father was a prominent force in a version of the screenplay, and we don't know anything about his father in the final version of the film. Yeah, so got really condensed.
But that perhaps informed you to pick another space subconsciously in other places in the film. You never know.
Right.
You have to go through the process, right?
You have to go through the process.
Very cool. Very cool. And could you just tell everyone, what roles did you take on in this film?
It's funny. Sometimes it's to the point where I'm like, I don't even like to list because it just feels like a lot. But I was a writer, director, editor, and one of the producers.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Thankfully, I had a wonderful team of people surrounding me, two other amazing producers, Leah Beth Etheridge and Rachel Gifford, for the Makers Productions. And so I could not have done it without them and, without all of the very talented cast and crew. But yes, I wore quite a few different hats, and I got to see it through from beginning to end, which, is probably my favorite part of filmmaking, is getting to see, the seed of the idea and then the final cut.
Well, it's cut is made. It's in the can, as they say. What's next?
Wow.
Besides this great junket tour you're going
right.
on now.
Yeah. So we've submitted to one film festival so far, and that's the Inwood Film Festival. So fingers crossed for that. And then we're going to submit it to some more film festivals. Our plan is to have we'll have a private premiere with cast, crew, family, and friends in the next soon, and then we'll see what happens after that. I mean, it's been a good amount of time since I've actually been writing, and so I'm excited to get back to some more writing and work on some ideas I have for a feature, and would love to make another short that's maybe a little bit more manageable that I can shoot in 2026. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited for what's to come and really looking forward to hopefully going to some film festivals and seeing lots more work and meeting some people.
Tell you what, when you're running film festivals and producing films, it's so hard to go to film festivals. I agree. That's a New Year's resolution I need to make as well. It's like, let's go see more film festivals and go. I just love to see how people come together, like different ways of bringing people together.
Totally.
I love all that. Well, any pearls of wisdom along the way to impart on anyone as maybe you've learned lesson learned to settle on your next project?
I'm trying to think. It always takes more time than you think when in production, and it always takes more time to set up than you think. And it's interesting, and this is the case with any film, but we had very finite time in the space that we were using for the theater space that we were renting, and so it was the kind of thing where, I think if I could tell someone, how can you be best prepared for production? I did not have the luxury of getting to run a ton of takes with the actors. And so, if I could go back again, it would be even more preparation on the front end with the actors and we thankfully were able to, once the cameras were rolling, our talent was just incredible and they were very prepared, and we had gotten to work a little bit beforehand. And so we were able to just jump right in. And, I'm also not a Tarantino type director that would try and, run something a million times, or I think that's him. So there's or maybe it's David Lynch. There's certain directors where it's like a lot of takes, and that's just I've never had that luxury, but also I just don't think that I could do that. And so, as not to say anything, they've put out, consequential films. But I would say be as prepared as you can before the cameras roll, because there is such limited time for takes when you have finite resources.
And also when you have everyone together, everyone's time is precious.
Absolutely.
That's the thing with people. I think that's the one thing I've learned when I used to work on the soaps. Way back when we had soaps in New York, yes, we did. Is that boy, everything you said rings true. But it's like it's not just your time as the guy at the helm, but it's making sure we got the cameraman. Like, people are they late to the set? Are or do we have the equipment? Is everything plugged in? It's just we're recording a podcast today. This is set up too. It's like it's a lot. It's a lot to keep and to be at the helm of all of that is. It's a lot of responsibility.
I'd also say, too, to trust your gut. If you don't feel like you got what you need, to make sure you do. And even if that means like adjusting in the schedule, taking time from something in the future that you're going to shoot in the day. There was a specific situation. We had a oneer, and it was a pretty complicated one-shot take. And that whole morning was dedicated to like setting up the lighting for the stage and getting everything ready. And once that was in place, we could do a lot of different things with the stage scene. And so we ended up running, I can't remember, maybe two or three takes of that. And this was a big scene. This was like the consequential scene on stage where the protagonist, has this moment that, kind of sets things forward for the end of the film. And so I just didn't feel like we had gotten it, and we had to call lunch and take a break. And so it was that question of, okay, I guess are we gonna move on? And really we should have, because we were behind schedule. And I was just like, I don't feel like we got it. And so everyone came back from lunch. We reassembled, and we did the scene again. And I'm so thankful we did, because what was in the film is from that second part and one of those takes that we did after lunch. And so, yeah, I would just say trust your gut. When you don't feel like you have it, keep going, and you can always make up the time later. That's what we had to do.
To that own self be true. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, excellent advice too. So what's next for you now? Besides obviously working on this film and getting it out, but any other creative irons in the fire?
I am working on actually putting pen to paper to write a screenplay, a feature screenplay that I'm excited about. I have like kind of the general outline and the idea, and I think I'm trying to remember if I've actually started somewhere. There's probably some final draft file somewhere that I got to find. But I need to actually start the screenplay, and so I'm working on that. I'm excited about that. I have another idea too that I want to pursue, and then more realistically want to do maybe like a 5-page short that can be shot maybe this summer. So we'll see what happens with that. Something that I can kind of give myself some pretty intense creative guardrails, very limited, like much lower budget than this, but still create something and to, keep working that muscle.
Love it. We'll keep challenging and keep making hopeful productions.
Thank you. I'll try.
Absolutely. Caleb, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Before we say goodbye, where can you tell people to go to find out more about your work?
Yes. So I would say if you want to find out more about me, you can go to my website. That's calebmclarke.com, or follow An Act of Penance on Instagram. That is An Act of Penance Film. And we will be updating that with more as things come out.
Very cool. Well, folks, you have your marching orders. Go find Caleb. Go find the film. Go support. Save Uptown. Keep it hopeful.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, again, Caleb, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Glad to be here.
You bet. So once again, this is Aaron Sims here at the Artist Spotlight episode of Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where we meet the filmmakers, writers, theater makers, musicians, and artists of all stripes to make their home what we call upstate Manhattan. If you have a moment, please show us some love right now and rate and review this podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you listen to. We greatly appreciate it. Many thanks to Good Shepherd here for hosting us, and to heightsites.com for Uptown promotional support. Hey, you can support On Air, by the way, and any of our programming by making a tax-free donation to Inwood Art Works at inwoodartworks.nyc/donate. We greatly appreciate it. Or via Venmo at Inwood Art Works. Be sure to follow us on social media to keep up with all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Al Fresco, live performances, and so much more. Inwood Art Works On Air is proud to be supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council. And Inwood Art Works programming is made possible by the New York State Council on the Arts with support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Art Works On Air.